We were so tired of church being a place where everybody that was really good at faking it got together to compare notes, and just the idea of being a real place that was through everything. We're not getting together to fake this. We're not getting together to pretend that we have it all together. That for me was a huge breath of fresh air.
It had been 50 years since I think anyone had started a church in Hyde Park, maybe longer.
At least.
Yeah, it seemed like such a scandalous idea. I mean, there was kind of two levels. There was the idea of starting a church in general. You just can't do that. Like, no, you have to have some sort of franchise rights for that, or something. But then the idea of then doing it in Hyde Park just seemed just absolutely insane to people. It was wild. We thought, somehow naively that, oh, you're starting a church, everyone's going to love you, and it wasn't that way at all.
And then remember when we brought in like that expert who kind of tells you that successful church plants, had these kind of factors.
Right.
Like we had none of them. Yeah. We didn't have a mother church that was sending us or a body of supporters that were going to help financially, get us off the ground.
It was like the Scared Straight seminar for church plants. You remember Scared Straight when they took all the kids that were having trouble in school and they put them in a prison where all the inmates came in and scared the daylights out of them to keep them straight? Yeah. So we had this killer presentation. We were pretty well networked.
PowerPoint.
We were pretty well networked in Cincinnati within, young influential people that went to church and stuff. We thought, boy, we'll just kind of share the idea with them, and then they're all going to come running. So over the course of these two big meetings, we shared this idea, all the research we'd done, what we wanted to do, all this really inspirational kind of thing with over 100. With over 100 of these people we were networked in, and our group of 11 at the time, through the massive presentation of these 104 people or whatever it was, we grew from 11 to 13. Two people out of the whole thing. And I remember at the time, now looking back at it, and some of those people, and maybe some of them weren't supposed to be part of it, and that's cool. If you're really feeling called to something, you can't look for the affirmation of other people who may not be, called to the same thing.
Yeah, that first Sunday, I don't know if you guys remember, but heading up that, we had all those meetings, we had critical path sheets, we had storyboards, and we didn't really know what to expect. In our dreams, I think we wanted 200 people.
Right.
We thought if everybody comes, everybody's parents comes, everybody's friend comes, you bring your dog, put them in the car, we'll count your dog. Everything is about how many people you have that first weekend because there's social dynamics. Right. And I remember in that very first one in the front row, refusing to turn around because I thought if I turn around and look, I'm going to get so depressed. And then Steve Andrew, who was a greeter that day, remember him? He came up and went, when you get up there, tell everybody to scrunch in because we can't seat everybody.
Also going on around the tri-state, a new interdenominational church in Hyde Park holds its first service, billing itself as Church Done Differently.
Just trying to be real people interacting on issues. So there's a level of informality and a level of realness that may not be found in a lot of other places.
We lived in a house directly across the street from the school that Crossroads began meeting at. So it began slowly with noticing that people started trickling in those first couple weekends, and then it grew quite rapidly as the weekends went on. I think for us more the focus was the parking and the amount of people that were coming in to the area on Sunday mornings. It really began to be, it was just incredible how quickly everything grew.
Well, we forget how overwhelmed we were because no one was expecting 400 and some people that first week. Nobody. We didn't think about parking systems for 300 and some cars. We didn't think about egress, ingress, all that kind of stuff. And so it was just mayhem.
Maybe some latecomers couldn't find a place to park, so they would kind of pull in quickly and take up either side of our driveway so that it became very difficult for us to get out. One morning I remember Bob was on call and we couldn't get out of our driveway. So it became so congested that the police had to start, standing in our driveway and directing traffic, and it was incredible.
So we sent out a letter to the whole neighborhood around there on Erie Avenue. I don't know, it was hundreds of homes. and you and I were gonna sit down with them that night, and so we invited them over to do it. And I remember my first level of discouragement was the fact that out of all those hundreds of letters we sent out, I think 6 people showed up.
I attended a meeting that Brian Wells and Brian Tone had, several of my neighbors and I, that they were interested in purchasing the school or the property, and that they wanted to kind of meet the neighbors, kind of a meet and greet, and see how we all felt about it.
I was very discouraged that there were 6 people, and then by the end of the night, I was
and they were the wrong 6 people. Right. They were the wrong 6 people.
I was really bummed. I wish the 6 hadn't shown up.
And that maybe wasn't the best meeting I've ever had with somebody.
Who wants, honestly, who on a Sunday morning wants outside their house to have gridlock?
So we had a solution, but we held out to the end of the night because we wanted to really kind of be the big thing that left us on a high note.
On a high, yep.
So for purposes of this tape, Brian, why don't you and I reenact that moment? You be the neighbor, and I will be me revealing our big kicker.
Good.
Okay? So I said, we really want to be a blessing to this neighborhood. We really want to make sure we're not parking on the streets, all those things. So what we've planned, we've already had designed for the back this significant parking garage.
Parking garage! Parking garage! There's a parking garage!
Brian mentioned they were going to solve the parking issue by building a parking garage across the street from our house, which is what everybody really wants to hear. And so really I left the meeting really frustrated at this church. I just didn't get it. I didn't understand it. It was foreign to me. I really didn't take much time to find out much about it. I just knew that I felt like it was a nuisance. And we happened to have a friend come in town whose son was ill, and she said, I want to go try that church across the street from you. And so I didn't really want to do that because of my past relationship, but I thought, well, she really wants to do this. We all went with her. And so that was really the first service we ever attended at Crossroads.
This really had an impact on me. I really could relate to it. I felt comfortable. And this was something that I thought that I really wanted to look into deeper.
Prior to Bob saying how he felt about Crossroads, I really had been praying because I didn't like the fact that our family never worshiped together. And that the kids and I got in the car on Sundays and we went off and did something totally without Bob, and that just bothered me a lot. So I think it's kind of funny that when he finally said, that God put this church directly across the street from us, that turned out to be the place that Bob could express how he felt very comfortable there.
Actually, it was the first time I actually felt that I just had a connection with God. Although I believed in God, I really didn't have a connection.